They always say heroes are born in silence, not spotlight. And this story proves it. It happened in a small coastal town that never expected danger. Until one night, the sky turned dark and the wind began to scream. Everyone rushed home, locking windows, grabbing flashlights, hoping the storm would pass. But one man stayed calm. He simply stood outside watching the clouds like he was waiting for something. His name was Ethan Rhodes, a quiet grocery store worker who people barely noticed during normal days. He stocked shelves, swept aisles, smiled politely, and walked home alone every evening. Nobody knew his story, and honestly, nobody cared to ask. But when the storm arrived, people finally saw him. By 7 p.m., rain hit like bullets, and cars stopped moving as streets flooded. Sirens echoed across the town, and people panicked, calling emergency services every second. Power lines snapped, darkness spread, and the wind sounded like a monster breathing. But Ethan stayed outside. He felt something inside him telling him this wasn't just a storm. It was a test. He ran to the grocery store and unlocked it again, even though his shift had ended. Inside, dozens of families were trapped without food, water, or batteries. He turned the lights on. It became the only building with power because of a backup generator. And suddenly, the grocery store became a shelter. Children cried as thunder crashed, and people huddled in fear on the floor. But Ethan moved calmly, handing out food, water, blankets, and telling people to keep breathing. His voice was steady like he had done this before. He said, "Panic is the real danger. Breathe with me." One old woman grabbed his hand and asked, "Why aren't you afraid?" Ethan looked at her and stayed silent for 5 full seconds. Then he softly said, "Because fear already tried to take everything from me once, and it lost." Nobody understood what he meant, but everyone felt safer when he spoke. Hours passed, and the storm grew stronger, shaking windows and doors as people held them shut with their bodies. Ethan tied ropes to the handles, placed heavy boxes against vulnerable spots, and moved with precision like a trained responder. Yet nobody had seen him in any rescue team before. So, who was he really? The roof began leaking, and water poured into the store as kids shivered and mothers prayed. Ethan climbed to the top with nothing but duct tape and plastic sheets he found in storage. Every second up there was dangerous. Thunder struck close, and wind nearly threw him off the edge. But he didn't stop, not once. When he came back down, soaked and freezing, the people inside started clapping. Someone said he was a hero. Ethan shook his head and said, "I'm not a hero. I just promised someone I'd never run from fear again." It sounded like pain hiding behind courage. Around midnight, the storm finally faded, and the sky calmed like nothing had happened. People looked around, realizing no one had been hurt, not a single injury. The news reporters asked who saved everyone, but Ethan was already gone. He walked home quietly before sunrise like he had never existed at all. Days later, the town gathered to thank him, searching for the man who stayed calm when everyone panicked. But Ethan Rhodes didn't show up. He didn't want recognition, reward, or fame. Someone found a note on the grocery store door. It simply said, "Real storms aren't outside. They're inside us." That line spread across social media. People turned it into murals, quotes, even tattoos. The town still remembers that night, the storm nobody was ready for, and the quiet man who stood against it, without fear. Because when the storm came, everyone panicked, except him. Sometimes the strongest people are the ones nobody notices until the world starts falling apart. Stories like this must be remembered. So if you believe real heroes exist, hit subscribe and keep them alive.